as we're all navigating through this coronavirus crisis around the world, as the nation and as the planet, we have a lot of questions, and one of them is probably, what our lives are going to be like once it's back to normal. What is that normal going to be like, and what's going to happen to all of these industries that we rely on, including the auto industry? Now, we don't know everything yet, but Sandy Munro is going to be here, our monthly contributor, with his segment Teardown with Sandy Munro. He's going to give us kind of a status update on what's happening in the industry right now, what we can expect in the next few weeks and a couple of months, how easy or hard it's going to be to recover from this, and will we possibly have some victims, like maybe some companies going belly up, maybe even some younger electric car startups like maybe Fairlife Future, Lucid, Byton, and so forth. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to break it down into two conversations, really. One, we're going to talk about the entire industry and then what's going to happen, and then we're going to talk specifically about Tesla. So I'm actually going to split it up into two videos. One I'll post obviously today as you're watching it right now, and the next one's going to be posted the next day. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, this is a perfect time to do so. Sandy and many other exciting contributors are here every week and every month. And don't forget to click on that bell notification icon as well. Now, I got to tell you, before we did this, we talked off camera for a little bit, and Sandy has some exciting news for you guys. So we're going to share that with you just in a second. Before that, of course, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Byton. Check out their all-electric SUV called M-Byte, coming to the US and Europe next year. Their reservations are absolutely free, so go to the description of this video and make your Byton reservation today. And by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. Use E4Electric as a discount code for purchases over $100. So you can just hit the link in the description of this video to get the same result. All right, without further ado, here is Sandy. I wish we were talking under better circumstances, but it is what it is. How are you holding up?
Well, actually, I'm doing quite okay. Our big contracts have been put on hold, and I have probably about half the company wondering what we're going to do next. But the good news is, well, the Tesla plant shut down, and I didn't think I was going to get a chance to get a Tesla Y, and that would have put us behind the curve with many of our customers. But as luck would have it, at 6, I was told that we won't get 6 in the morning. I was told we won't be getting a car. And then I said 10 o'clock, they said, do you want to have an open truck or a closed truck for shipping? And so it's on the way.
You're getting a Model Y.
There's your first smile.
All right.
First smile on your show.
All right.
Yeah,
I know
so I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy about that. I think that we're, I mean, they're talking, and the government's talking about big bunches of money and stuff. The company rules are, I only have 3 rules in a company: tell the truth, pay the bills, stay away from the government. So I have little or no faith in the government, but at the end of the day, if they're going to help us out later on with people who had nothing to do, then that'll be nothing but good times and make me happy as a clam. So I can't really complain.
All right, and you're like, just so we're clear, you are getting a Model Y, and you're not getting it for yourself to drive around. You're getting it to do another teardown.
That's correct.
I also know you have a pretty exciting announcement about how people can actually be up to date and keep themselves up to date on your teardown. You're actually going to have a website dedicated to that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so my people, the marketing, sales, and actually the president of Monroe, Corey Steuben, they came up with a cool idea, and what we're going to have is something called MonroeLive.com, and in essence, there's going to be a live streaming that will be turned on. It's turned on now, I guess, and although there's nothing there yet, but it'll be live streaming, and it'll show you how we're taking it apart, and there'll be probably little vignette reports every once in a while that'll we'll talk about what we found and what we're excited about. But as luck would have it, we are going to get a second Model Y. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to one of our partners in China. And so that vehicle will not be torn down, and we'll use that for testing and validation and maybe just fooling around driving and seeing what it's like. I'm hoping that it's going to have the same kind of ride as what the Model 3 had. I've heard lots of stories about the Y. I've seen a couple of pictures that tell me, maybe there's some good stuff, but I'm kind of hoping, I was kind of hoping that I could get a tour through there. I wanted to see if I could get a tour, and actually what I'd like to do too is also see what it looks like up close, the Cybertruck. So if possible, that would be wonderful. But if it doesn't happen, I'm still pretty happy that I got the Model Y, and we can do a direct comparison then to the Model 3.
Yeah, I've only ridden in the prototype at the unveiling, and to me it felt exactly the same as Model 3, but I'm definitely looking forward to your impressions now that you're getting a production version. Now, I think, with everything that's going on, I think people are wondering, like, what's going to happen with, electric car industry and the car industry in general. Obviously, the factories have been shut down in China for a while. They're reopening now. In Europe and United States, most of the factories are shut down here as well. What do you think is going to happen in terms of, is this going to be like a temporary little pause, or do you think it's going to, take a really big toll on the industry?
Okay, so that's really a complex question. So let me start with the guys who are really going to make the difference, and that's the buying public. If the buying public loses confidence in the in the products that are being sold, or just loses confidence in general with the economy and the company and the companies that are trying to survive, then we're all doomed. I mean, really and truly, it's the consumer that's going to determine how well we're going to do. I believe sincerely that that if the customer confidence is there, the car plants will ramp up relatively quickly, depending again on the supply community. So this is not an independent world. You have to have friends to keep you alive, and the supply community, for me, when I help a company get into business, I don't call them suppliers, I call them partners, and that's basically a leftover from Dr. Deming. He said that when a car company chooses its partners, it's like getting married. It's very similar to getting married. If you have a bad marriage, you're going to have a rough time. So so in essence, that's where I am. I believe that that it's going to be a combination of things. Number one, it's going to be the people, the buying public. That's number one. Number two is going to be the company itself. How well did it do to try and save money? Like I said, most of our customers have decided that they need to keep whatever cash reserves they can keep. So they've laid us off, but I mean, everybody got laid off. Chrysler made an announcement today that all of the people who are suppliers there are gone. And it could have been the same thing with General Motors and Ford and Toyota and everybody else, because quite frankly, none of those people can afford to have suppliers standing around with nothing to do with their hand out. So it is what it is, and that's what they have to do. And the rest of us in the supply community, we have to do what we have to do. So we've had some layoffs at Monroe and Associates, and there may be more, but we're going to try and keep everybody we possibly can doing something. And that's why the Tesla was so important for us, because we absolutely flat out need that car to try and survive the downturn. I heard that there's lots of money the government's going to give out, but I've been in I've been in enough situations where the government said one thing and then nothing happened for us. I mean, it was for
What?
somebody, but it
Come
didn't
on,
happen
you're
for
kidding. When was the last time a government sent something? It did not exactly happen like they promised. I don't know
Okay,
what you're
so
talking about.
yeah, so there's the second smile. So you're
Right.
getting two. So
People are
that's
keeping
pretty
track.
typical.
just
Yeah.
just so my audience knows that I told Sandy that people are keeping track how many times he smiles per video. So we're now keeping track. But all
I'm not
right.
a very smiley guy, so
Yeah, especially during this time. So I appreciate you doing this. All right, so consumer confidence, but and obviously that's probably going to be true for most of the industries that are going to try to get out of this. Now, can you talk about
oh, wait a
specifically?
minute. There's one industry that will not have to worry about it. The toilet paper industry.
That is true.
There
That is
you
true.
go.
We're all stuck up. This
You're
has
the
been my
hoarder.
prop.
You're the guy.
No, no. I listen. I'm European. I have a bidet, so I actually
Oh,
don't need this.
oh,
This
oh,
is a sample as a prop for my
oh.
videos.
I
That's why I don't need it. Yeah,
just in case.
yeah.
So
You
you knew
know,
I
they're
was coming
actually
on, and you figured you're going to run into verbal diarrhea, and you
yeah,
brought along a
that
bowl of
does
toilet
happen
paper.
here sometimes. But
I can't.
it's funny. They're actually running out of bidets now on Amazon. But that's a whole different video. Okay.
Mm.
All right. So so I was gonna ask you. Okay. So just so we all understand, when a factory shuts down and then comes back online, you know. I'm assuming it's not as simple as flipping the light switch and calling everybody back to work, right? The suppliers have to start producing, and a factory starts to ramp up and so forth. How long does it take normally for the factory to come back online and go back to the full production?
Well, when the switch is flipped, it's not this. That's not the assembly line that you flip the switch on. The switch is flipped to the supply community first to make sure that the line is stocked and that the all of the features and functions that you need to have in each one of the machines, each one of the cars, vehicles, they all have to be in queue. You need to make sure that as the car is coming down the line, all the appropriate parts are line side so they can go into that car. So staging is really important. So that's the first switch you flip, and you'll have a minimum number of people in the plant just to make sure that everything is in ready. And you'll have suppliers crawling all over everything, trying to make sure that the products that are delivered are correct and in correct sequence. So that's kind of like the first switch. The second switch is you bring the people in, and and you kind of go through. Do you remember your job? Do you need help with your job? Do you see are the tools in the right place, and on and on and on? Because sometimes what you do is mothball a few things. Adhesives can't be sitting out there. RTV, that kind of stuff all has to be taken away and sometimes scrapped or put back in a refrigerator or what have you. So that sort of stuff, that line side stocking has to be inspected, and each operator will check out everything it's got. Then you start the lineup, but slowly. You don't run it at the same speed as what you did the last day of work. You kind of make sure that everybody's ramped up and everybody is cognizant of what they're doing and the right way to do it. And then you ramp up from there. So Tesla is pretty much a vertically integrated kind of company. So their suppliers are living in house. So they'll have a small advantage over everybody else.
So let me just we'll talk about Tesla in the second part, because I just wanted to get first through just
Oh,
general sort of understanding,
yeah,
because I think most of my viewers and myself, really, we don't
yeah.
we don't know, we've never been here before. We don't know if it's going to take a month or half a year for companies to start making cars again. But
Mm.
yeah, go ahead.
So again, all car company, everything that I just described is the same for any car company. So I was just going to tell you what happens, I think, with Tesla, because they are vertically integrated. They'll move up faster than someone who has tons of suppliers. And the reason for that is simply because every supplier is on the payroll, and they all want to get going because they want to make sure that they keep a paycheck.
Okay, so for example, with someone like Tesla that's very well vertically integrated, but still have to rely on suppliers, let's say car seats, right? If one supplier that's supplying something like a car
Don't
seat,
they make their own car seats? I thought they had their own cushion
I'm
rail.
I'm giving you like an example. Like there's
Oh,
just one part that obviously you can't live without. And that supplier is lagging behind. Doesn't that mean essentially you can only go as fast as your slowest supplier?
right,
Is that correct?
right. That is the absolute truth. There's a guy named Eli Goldratt that wrote a book called The Goal, and he talks all about that. So you can only move as fast as whoever the solar supplier is, and you're only going to be as good as the worst quality supplier. So here we see, starting up the assembly line, and we start moving ahead. Any kinds of hiccups is probably going to be from the supply side. Either that or somebody in purchasing buggered up a little bit. But here's the real truth, and that is that the planning that goes into startup is much more important than the actual flipping of the switch. So I told you what happens when they flip the switch. What I didn't talk about was all of the planning that has to go on prior to throwing the switch, either with the supply community or with the factory itself or whomever. And by the way, the supply community also has its suppliers. So we have the OEM, we have the tier 1s, the tier 2s, and the tier 3s. The big problem is that the tier 3s are going to have a very, very rough time during this time. They live basically from hand to mouth. And so the guy that making a bracket, he could be he could shut the whole factory down if somebody else can't make that bracket. If he's gone bankrupt in the month that will be off. So there's a lot of danger in this kind of a scenario. And I've never really seen, I've seen shutdowns because of strikes and things like that, but personally I've never seen anything like this where whole states get shut down and things like that.
Now, we already have some examples of factories coming back on. Obviously, China is kind of coming alive.
Yes.
People are, I know Tesla factory was reopened. I believe Polestar just started to make the Polestar 2. What are you seeing or hearing there? Has it been relatively smooth? How are things going right now there in China? Because I'm assuming that's what we should expect here and in Europe.
Well, maybe not. In China, things are different. They have different rules, and I'm not exactly sure what all got implemented, but people were paid to stay home and to keep the virus under control and things like that. I think they came up very fast. China, contrary to popular belief, is very, very entrepreneurial. So they're very, very entrepreneurial. They like to work. So it's hard to say how we're going to fare against them, but they seem to be able to move very quickly by American standards and unbelievably fast compared to European standards.
Okay. Now, if we may just for a second kind of concentrate on the electric car industry, obviously factories are a little different. Most of the companies that produce electric cars are either startups, and I would even include Tesla in that, but, Lucid, Faraday Future, and so forth, or the legacy manufacturers that kind of have like little small do-it-yourself projects almost, though Volkswagen and others are taking it more seriously now. How do you see this affecting the electric car manufacturing and the industry? Do you think this might be, take a little bit longer for them to come online? And do you think this might actually take a few players out, like Faraday Future and Lucid?
Well, I will tell you that when we come out of this for the traditional OEMs, they're going to be focusing their full attention on how to make money because they've got shareholders that they need to appease. And so I think that what's going to happen there is they're going to be moving very, very quickly into producing the cars that make them the most money. So pickup trucks, luxury vehicles, it's going to be full steam ahead. Cars that are going to have lots of options, they're also going to be a prime focus. Electric vehicles, not so much. I think that they're going to have to first generate wealth using their other products before they're going to be going back to seeing what they can do with electric vehicles. Again, I worked at Ford, and anytime that things went bad, we focused on how do we make money now, not let's do another science project. And that's kind of like the way they look at electric vehicles. So that's what I'm predicting for the OEMs. For the electric car companies, I think Tesla is going to be just fine. I don't think they're going to have any problems at all. Faraday Futures and the other guys, they don't have a lot of cash to burn. I think Tesla said something of billions. They've got billions of dollars in the bank. So they're not going to have too much of a problem. But the rest of the EV market, they may have some serious issues.
Do you think some of this may be serious enough for one or two of the startup companies, like the one we talked about, or maybe even the one in China like NIO? Actually, could this be the last straw and they will have to actually bow out?
I don't know about NIO because they've got lots of investors in back of them, but the guys that are in the States, wouldn't surprise me if we saw one or two of them with serious enough problems that they just go and do something else.
All right, well, hopefully that's not going to happen, but unfortunately you might be right. All right, so let's switch topics for now and talk specifically about Tesla. All right, I'm going to stop everything right here because now we're going to talk about specifically Tesla and what Sandy thinks about what's going to happen with Tesla. Will they be able to actually start manufacturing the medical supplies and the medical equipment that they are promising, specifically the ventilators, and will other companies be able to do the same? So we're going to leave that conversation for tomorrow. So of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And overall, we do daily electric car news, reviews, and so forth once things are back to normal. Okay. All right. So looking forward to your comments. If you have questions, or maybe you have a idea for the next topic that we should discuss, even though I'm pretty sure it's going to be the teardown of the Model Y, definitely put that in the comment section of this video. We're both looking forward to your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.